have a dad and a husband, and neither of them talk to me like that. So I'm not going to have you talk to me that way.
Get on my bad side, you're in trouble. I always tell the truth, even when I lie. And I ultimately was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. I took a suspension over $1,200.
I'll be the first to admit that I did doubt you.
I'm not a criminal, that I didn't do anything wrong. How am I doing? Entertaining? This is good, right? All right, cheers.
Welcome to Verdicts in Vogue. My name is Cristina Perez, and today I have the honor of introducing my most controversial guest ever, Gil Negrete.
What's up?
And that is, according to you, it's Negrete, right?
Yes.
Because the one time I misspelled your name and you weren't happy.
Like, what'd you say?
I don't know. I think I think I put an I at the end.
What? Yeah, I'm not Jonathan Negrete.
So
Gil Negrete.
So I misspelled your name.
It's all good.
And actually I misspelled it on purpose. But
I knew it.
You called me out on it, and I said, "Oh, oops, what?" And I knew it was going to make you mad, and you're like, "Hey, it's Negrete," and I'm
the disrespect. The disrespect. Get on my bad side, you're in trouble.
But I'm telling you, it was done on purpose. I did misspell your name on purpose, and you were like, "You knew how to spell my name last time." I'm like, "Okay, I did do it on purpose." But
no, can't be told.
But welcome, thank you for being here. I'm excited about today because it gives us an opportunity to talk. And I know that you speak on your podcast on a weekly basis?
Pretty much weekly, yeah.
I don't know if many people have had the opportunity to really know you as a person outside of that drama. So
it's not all drama.
Well, I mean, you've had a very interesting last couple of years. I'll tell you that. But what interests me most is how you were able to get to where you were. I mean, you did a lot. I mean, you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up.
It's kind of funny driving over here. I grew up in Phoenix, then lived in Maryville, or grew up in Maryville, then moved to Peoria, but spent a lot of time in Glendale and Peoria. And OLPH, which is just down the street, is a church that I used to go to as a kid. When I was doing one of my internships in college, I was originally in the secondary education program. And so you had to do an internship at certain schools. Okay. And so I went and did an internship at the elementary school down the street. So it kind of brought back a lot of memories. So going back, yeah, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and I went to Centennial High School. I went to Glendale Community College. I went to Phoenix College. And then finally made my way to a university.
Where did you go to law school?
I went to ASU.
You did go to ASU?
Yes.
Okay.
Where'd you think I went?
For some reason, I thought it was U. Originally, I thought it was ASU, but then I heard that it was U of A, which surprised me.
A lot of people think that I went to U of A. One, my daughter did go to U of A.
It's probably because your daughter.
But also, me and my dad were diehard Wildcat fans since I was a little boy.
Even though you went to ASU? I
was already 21 when I went to ASU, so I already had my allegiance, and it was to the University of Arizona.
So when you were going to ASU Law, did you ever go to the ASU Law games?
ASU Law games or ASU football games?
Football games, yeah.
Yeah.
You did?
Uh-huh.
So you kind of like played both sides?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I rooted for both.
So who do you root for today?
U of A.
Okay.
I root for both. So on my last podcast, I said I root for Notre Dame, I root for U of A, and I root for ASU. But when U of A is playing ASU, I root for U of A.
Yeah. So
and ASU alum hate that about me.
So before we get into your podcast, just because there's so much there, right? You grew up in Phoenix. Your dad worked for the city of Phoenix, and he was an engineer. And then your mom was a postal worker, right? And you have how many siblings?
4.
4. Are you the only boy?
The oldest.
You're the oldest and the boy. You know what? I didn't peg you as like the oldest child.
Why not?
Well, because older children they usually have a certain personality. I thought you'd be like the youngest.
No, the oldest of 5.
Oldest of 5, and then it was all 4 girls. How was that for you?
Growing up in a household where you're not the prince and the girls are all in charge, I had to just mind my business and stay to myself.
But so that's so different because it's myself, my sister, and my brother, and I'm the oldest. And my brother is like my mom's like prince. And so to this day, she'll come over just to make him food. And then she'll if you ask her to iron his clothes, she'd still iron his clothes. right? So it's very different.
Mom never ironed my clothes. Not once.
I need somebody to iron my clothes. So then you ended up going to ASU Law.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did you do next?
Well, while I was in law school, I was also working for my father-in-law, Francisco Gutierrez, at his personal injury law firm, which is where I grew kind of my passion for personal injury law, was seeing his passion for it and how he was able to help people in the community. And but while I was doing that, that wasn't my first love. My first love was representing athletes. So while I was in law school, I was driving to different community colleges, high schools, chasing baseball players that were getting drafted. I was flying all over the country, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, to recruit football players. So I represented football and baseball players for a period.
So tell me what sparked that interest? Why?
On the sports side?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't good enough to play on the field, so I figured I'd find a way to be around off the field. So that was what it was, honestly.
So then how did you get into trying to like recruit and manage sports stars?
You know, one of the first players that I recruited was Amari Stoudemire when he got drafted by the Suns. And Amari's still a friend of mine to this day, but his best friend, Mike Walker, that moved out here with him back in 2002, him and I are still very good friends. So I was recruiting him. I got to do like his sports camps. I got to do some of their endorsement stuff. So I learned a lot about, you know, the behind the scenes of not just being an agent and doing contracts, but also like how you're involving yourself in the community. And there was this agent out of Maryland that was managing Amari Stoudemire at the time. And I just kind of watched him and admired what he was doing with Amari, and then tried to, you know, implement that into the players that I represented.
So was that your goal, to be more into that type of law than personal injury? Mm-hmm. So then what happened where you said, okay, you know what, I'm going to go into the personal injury space?
I got tired of babysitting athletes. They break their phones. They call you to fix them, to go get them fixed. They call you so they can fly their girlfriends into town. And I felt like I was more of a personal assistant. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't really what I signed up for.
And then you were working with your father-in-law at the time, Francisco Gutierrez, and what were you doing with him?
He had me do everything. He had me do his payroll, like manage his office, do demands, do legal research, things like that. So I felt like I got to learn everything in a law firm while working for him.
And so when was the first time that you hung out your own shingle? Because for a long time before it was AZ Hometown, it was the law offices of Gil Negrete.
Yeah, it was January of 2009. Once I got my paper from the Supreme Court saying that I was admitted to practice, I asked my father-in-law if he wanted to partner up, and he said, hell no. And I said, okay, I'm going to rent the room that I'm in, and I'm still in that room to this day.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So the last 23 years, I've been in the same office.
Same space. Nice. So I actually today earlier we interviewed someone who was in your bar study course. And so he remembered you from studying for the bar.
Is that how I knew him?
Yeah.
Okay. If that's what he says.
Well, whatever. I don't know. But yes, that's how he mentioned it, that he remembers you from studying for the bar at the same time and hanging out and all that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So 2009.
Yeah. So I finished in 2005. And I really tried to pursue that career as an agent. And my father-in-law kept saying, just go get your license. Just go get your license. And so finally in 2008, I took the bar exam. And it took me twice. I'll be honest. It took me twice. Okay. The first time, I don't think I prepared myself enough and maybe took it for granted that I was going to be fine. And I missed it by a few points. So the second time was like, all right, let's get this shit together.
And you passed it on the second time. Yeah. And then you opened up your own shingle. And that was...
January of 2009.
January of 2009. And then you went into a super growth mode from that point forward.
Sort of. I mean, the first 5 or 6 years, I did a lot of personal injury. I did a lot of criminal. I did a lot of family. I wanted to not just be, one dimensional. I wanted to kind of learn the practice and be in the courtroom in other areas of the law as well. Okay. And so I did that. It wasn't actually until 2017 that I went out and decided to get a website, which is kind of wild.
You didn't have one the whole time?
No. I got a website it might have been in 2017, 2018. Okay. And then my buddies that are still my buddies today and working with me today told me, you should go get a couple billboards. You should do this. You should do that. And my passion for sports. If you come to my office, my walls are filled with memorabilia. They're like, we know how passionate you are about sports. Why don't you get an athlete to endorse you?
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out and reached out to Archie Bradley, who was playing for the Arizona Diamondbacks at the time. And he connected me with his agent. And then, of course, him and I, Alex Guerrero, we hit it off immediately. And we're good friends to this day. One, because he was doing what I had wanted to do, and he was making it look easy. But two, he brought Archie in, and, you know, Archie was really good for us. And we started doing buses and billboards. And that's where the growth like exploded.
So, because I know that at one point,
Water.
do you need to find your water? It's on that side. So I know at one point you grew your practice, and I believe was it 2022, 2023, maybe you were at probably 100 cases per month. Is that right? Or that's just what I heard.
That's what you heard. No, by March of 23, I was done. I was out.
Oh, that's right.
So I went into suspension in April of 23.
But before we get to the suspension.
Okay, before we get to this suspension.
Because you grew something out of nothing, just you renting a room.
Renting a room, yeah. We got up to about 50, 60 clients a month, I would say, by 2021. And then by the middle of 2022, we were up to like 120 signups a month. And then that continued all the way until I sold my cases in March of 23.
Wow. So that's a lot of growth.
Mm-hmm.
Looking back, would you do it differently?
Much differently.
How?
One, I think I aligned myself with too many people that were people I knew, and I didn't really reach out to others, like bringing an office manager that was someone who really was an office manager. I always felt like I could mold somebody into the position that they were in, whether it was somebody I met at Jack in the Box in a drive-through and I say, hey, come work for the law firm, or somebody I met at a T-Mobile selling cell phones. I always felt like I could mold them into working in a law firm. And for the most part, I think I was successful, but there was also, I can look back at some positions where I truly needed somebody that already had the experience, who had already been there, because I was in uncharted territories myself. Like managing 100 cases a month is a lot. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things I would have done differently.
Well, and I know I started by saying, I started the podcast by saying that you're one of the most controversial guests I've had, right? And
You're welcome.
I don't know if that's a thank you. But here's why. So before our introduction a couple weeks ago, maybe like now 2 weeks, right?
This Saturday will be 2 weeks.
So when I went up to you and I said, hey, introduce myself to you, we had only met by phone, right? Which is a couple of phone calls that we had exchanged where you called me and that ended abruptly, right? By me hanging up on you.
I think you ruined my Saturday.
Well, I hung up on you.
Yeah, on a Saturday.
Well, I mean, I don't care what day it was, but I did.
Wow.
Well, no, you know what it was?
Huh.
I think what I vividly remember, we're both very hot tempered, right? When it comes to certain things, we are very strong in our convictions. You may call it feisty, but I didn't like the way that you came across so aggressively talking. And I remember saying, hey, I have a dad and a husband and neither of them talk to me like that. So I'm not going to have you talk to me that way. And we hung up. Since that time, we both have grown, right? But take it to that last Saturday when we first met, actually, and had the opportunity to talk. I think that would have alleviated, if we would have talked calmly together, I think that would have alleviated a lot of the issues. Would you have done anything differently regarding that situation?
I think at the time that we had that phone call, I felt strongly that I had a lot of detractors and a lot of people there was growing animosity, even from people I didn't know. And so I felt I was in a defensive mode because I didn't know you.
Sure.
And because I felt like you were somebody that was maybe coming at me, and I was wondering, well, what did I do to this woman? I don't even know her. And so there was this back and forth, and I'm not one to back down either. And so I just felt like, if you're gonna give it, I'm gonna give it right back as
you. Good. So you think that I gave it to you first?
I felt like when you sent me the email regarding the clients that had left your firm and came to my firm, the tone in your approach, I could tell already who you were in the sense of your strong convictions and your personality. And I honestly felt like I was being attacked. And then what made it worse was you uncovered something that was very, very damaging to me.
So for those who don't know, because it was a time in your life. So you had grown the firm to, I think, something that's you should be very proud of. You had grown it to 120 cases a month from just renting a room. And that's kind of how I started too. I rented a room from an attorney and went from there. And then I eventually I bought a real computer and then hired Sophia. I think I bought my first computer at Costco. But we get to this point where you grow it. And then all of a sudden things just kind of, the wheels fall off, right? Things start happening. And then you and I we didn't know each other. We don't run around the same circles, and then kind of intersected based on a couple of cases. And it wasn't about the cases. 'Cause I tell you, it wasn't the cases that had been essentially poached in a way. It was more the email that had gone back and forth on this listserv. So this is kind of how our saga kind of came up, right? But at that time, I think you were going through a lot of other things that I didn't know about. I had no idea.
Right.
And I think that kind of essentially was like the match that lit that whole fire.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I don't like taking cases from other attorneys. So the fact that I was being accused of that made me angry. Yeah. And then the fact that I had to find out that it was true, but it wasn't my law firm that was taking those cases, but somebody working for me, creating their own law firm, made me even more angry. And so that's where I didn't like that. That's how you kind of first came at me. Well,
just to be fair, it was an email. So you read the tone. You read into the tone.
I'm a good reader. I'm a really good reader. No, but look, and look, looking back, I mean, it's probably more trivial than what was said and done. And even my wife this morning said, isn't it kind of amazing you're going to do a podcast with somebody who 3 months ago probably wouldn't piss on you if you were on fire on the side of the highway?
I love that she says that. Do you know that's a saying that I always say and people don't understand it?
I don't know if she said those words. Maybe I use, but it's similar.
Well, those are my words all the time.
That's what she said. Like this woman, she could have saw you dying on the side of the street 3 months ago and would have kept driving.
No, my dislike for you wasn't that bad. It wasn't.
You would have threw out a card and said, if you need an attorney.
Call an attorney. I know a good one. Me.
Carry on.
No, but I'm saying I would have absolutely stopped. But so that the whole thing at that point in time, I mean, the reason why I say that you're controversial, I've had a lot of people since the gala, because you had your own podcast, which is widely listened to, even though people may not admit it. I since have listened to it. So I see the numbers. So I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and I even Hope has listened to it as well. And this morning I was listening to one with Sophia. And so it's very entertaining. I think
I'm here to entertain.
I think it's entertaining. You know, for me, it's a little bit too, and I've shared this with you, it's a little bit too angry, right? But I mean, whatever. It doesn't affect me, but it's just that whole point where for you, when I don't know how I get to say this, I think I got into a tangent, but for you with your podcast, what are you currently using it for? Like, what is it your goal that you see with this podcast?
You know, originally when I created the podcast, I felt like I created it to just have an outlet and talk to people about, you know, what had happened to me. A lot of people get embarrassed when something happens where they get suspended and they put their head in the sand.
So let's talk about that first. So tell everyone what happened. Because so you get to this place, we're beefing at this point over these cases. I had no idea what you were going through. So I can understand why you were, you may have lashed out when I reached out. And then tell us what was going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it was a series of events, and from something that happened 14 years ago had been brought to the bar's attention. And so they ultimately put me on probation for it. And while I was on probation, I was dealing with this chiropractor in Yuma, Credit Chiropractic, who was being unreasonable with their bills and reductions. They wanted the full amount. And I told them that just wasn't fair for the client. I felt like the client deserved more in her pocket. And I felt like their bills were a little bit inflated. Like I thought they were billing too high. And I had reached out to the state bar and asked, what are my options in terms of, dispersing these funds and not giving this doctor what they wanted, this chiropractor. And I had thought our office had sent out that letter. And I don't recall the exact terminology of the letter, but it's a letter to kind of, secure yourself when you go ahead and release those
providing
funds.
Notice that you have funds in hand.
And so while I had thought the letter had been sent out 6 months previous, while I was home with COVID, my accounting girl called me and said, this client would like to get her funds out of, and I said, okay, you confirmed that the letter went out. It's been several months. We had to wait 90 days, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Okay. Go ahead and disperse the funds and go ahead and send Credit Chiropractic 2/3 of their bill. And a week later is when I got a bar complaint. And so what ultimately happened was I had thought we had sent out the letter, and the bar believes that I misrepresented in that I said I did when I didn't, because we didn't have a document that said we had that letter. We had a different letter, but it wasn't that ER letter that the bar had required.
Yeah.
And so that turned into misrepresentation to the state bar, which which people have said since, well, Gil misrepresented in emails and this and that. It's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, again, going back to thinking through how I would do things again, I probably had a lot of too many inexperienced people and not enough support that knew actually what to do for every circumstance that came up. And so while I was away in COVID for 3 to 4 weeks, things started to spiral in my office, and not spiral. I don't want to say spiral, but things happen that when you're not there,
sure,
and you're not doing the oversight, things get missed. And I probably should have waited until I came back from COVID to go ahead and disperse these funds and confirm that the letter was in there. But I took my employee's word for it, and it ultimately cost me my license. It was over a $1,200 difference. So the bill was $3,600. I sent them $2,400. They made a bar complaint saying they wanted their full bill. The bar started the whole investigation looking into it. And I ended up giving them the additional $1,200 because I'd already paid the client the extra $1,200. And I took a suspension over $1,200.
So as you sit here today, do you take any responsibility for the lack of oversight?
I have to. I have no choice, of course.
But do you mean it?
I don't have a choice. Like, well, how do I not mean it?
I don't know. I mean,
I can't, I really can't blame anybody else. It's my practice at the end of the day. It's your practice. If something comes down,
you're the captain of the ship.
You got to go down with the ship.
So look, I mean, and here's the deal. Like when people, I will tell you that when your podcast came out and then you talked about the gala, and then later on you said that you were going to be on my show, right? People reached out to me and were like, what are you doing? Like, why? And I'll tell you, I see this, regardless of the other drama that's been going on. I mean, just what you've accomplished and what you had, and then ending up in a suspension can happen to anyone, right? Because I think attorneys these days want to grow fast, or they want to, keep up with the Joneses. Ego gets in the way. And then you end up making moves, taking shortcuts, and then or cutting corners, and then end up having that lack of oversight, or hiring inexperienced people, or not being able to like manage what you have, and all of a sudden you have 120 cases a month, and then you can't service all your clients the way you want to, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that that's like an important story to tell. Mm-hmm. And I, for me, when people were telling me, hey, do you really want to talk to Gil Negrete about like what happened? I said yes, ultimately, because I honestly believe that you can, a mistake can cost you your career, essentially. And people and attorneys aren't very kind, right? They are very quick to judge. Mm-hmm. Just like that, just like the judge. I think I mentioned to you on the telephone, there was that judge that got caught out urinating in public. And then our listserv went crazy saying, oh, she deserved it. She should have more character. That could happen to anyone. I mean, you shouldn't get that drunk. You shouldn't get that. But it's like attorneys are so quick to point the fingers, and it's like when you point your fingers, you have 3 fingers pointing back.
These last 2 years, when I took a knee, I felt like there was a lot of attorneys that were attacking me, and not just the ones that I've talked about on my podcast. Not just the one that's sued me many times in court.
7. I've actually listened. I listened 7 times.
And I'm not going to mention his name right now, because I don't know if you want his name on this podcast. But that person I saw at the Suns game last night with another attorney, that attorney has taken many liberties in attacking my credibility and sending screenshots of my mugshot to people in text messages and things like that. Literally trying to belittle me, humiliate me. But those people have skeletons in their closet as well. And it's like you said, people are quick to judge, and we all make mistakes. And it's like the same ones that are casting stones at me have also done things themselves, and yet they take no accountability for it.
Yeah, of course. And I'll tell you,
and that's what my podcast is doing. It's bringing accountability to those that want to cast those stones. Then I'm gonna cast them right back.
So that's a little different, right? So that's a little different.
Well, I changed the Bible story a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little different than what. So I gave my life to Jesus as our Lord and Savior in 2012. So I've learned that, you can come back from anything. And so I'm very quick not to judge for that reason, because everyone makes mistakes. Your podcast takes a different approach, I think. And you laugh, but it takes a different approach. It's kind of an aggressive approach. And I admire it, because I don't think many of us have the ability or the, I don't know what word without sounding nasty, the balls. Yeah, thank you. I don't think many of us have the balls to do that, to like speak our mind. And because if you speak on, because the defamation word is thrown around all the time, but we know that a defense for defamation is truth. Mm-hmm. So what made you decide to be like, hey, you know what, screw this, I'm just going to be me and tell my story?
I feel like if I've been accountable for my mistakes, and I do believe at times the bar has not reviewed others for theirs, and I feel like there's a lot of things that go on in our community that are not okay, that are unacceptable, that are unethical, unprofessional, and wrong. I believe that my podcast has given me the ability to talk about it. And I've been receiving plenty of bar complaints, even as a non-attorney, for the last 2 years. More bar complaints in the last 2 years than the first 15 years combined, from lawyers that don't like what I have to say. And the bar is currently attempting to censor my podcast, but my podcast is not a lawyer podcast. Okay. It's not me acting in a professional capacity as a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer.
And for those who don't know, your podcast is called Call Gil on Spotify. Oh, you're wearing the shirt?
The Call Gil Show. Welcome back to the Call Gil Show.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
No, so the podcast for me is an opportunity as a non-lawyer, because as lawyers, we are censored. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be very nice and kind to others.
Conduct, code of ethics.
And that's a joke. That's a joke to me. Lawyers are not kind. I've been involved, and not necessarily like even with me and you. That was like patty cake compared to some communications I've seen between lawyers where they just get after each other. And we're supposed to have this creative professionalism and, this upstanding behavior that we're supposed to abide by. And yet I would say a great number of lawyers don't abide by any of it. Now, as a non-lawyer, I'm speaking about it. I'm talking about it. And there's nobody that's going to censor me or stop me from talking about it, especially when it is the truth. Like you said, the best defense for defamation
is truth.
I'm going to redo that if you can cut it. The best defense for defamation is the truth.
Is the truth.
And everything I speak is the truth. And to take a line from your movie Scarface, I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Did you know where that line came from?
Of course I did.
Oh, you did? Okay. Most people
too.
don't. Most people don't know where that line comes from, and they think it's very odd that I like that movie. But I don't like the full movie, Scarface. I only like it.
3/4 of it.
I 3/4 of it. And then I turned it off because I like it. I like to end it on a high note, right? Because I don't like when he's losing. So I always. Yeah.
Well, if you don't want to see the Wicked Witch die in The Wizard of Oz, turn that off before it ends too.
So, okay. So now here you are, you're doing your podcast, no one's going to censor you.
Nobody.
And what's your plan as far as the next 5 years? Because, you have a timeline too, right? Because you're currently suspended. You were suspended in 2023 and you have a certain amount of time either to reinstate or then you have to go through the whole process again.
I don't necessarily have a 5-year plan, and I'll tell you why. Late last year when I came back home from New York after the World Series, I was having a lot of pains in my stomach and I was having a lot of issues, like medical, personal issues. And I ultimately was diagnosed with stage 3 cancer. And so I had surgery to remove that cancer. And so for the majority of this year, I've been on chemotherapy, and I just got off chemotherapy.
How long was that?
I had the surgery in March.
Oh, I didn't realize it was so recent.
And so I just finished chemotherapy in August 15th. And so for me, I don't look at a 5-year plan because right now I'm looking at hopefully getting through the first 2 years from when they removed the cancer.
Mm-hmm. If
it doesn't come back in the first 2 years, I have a good chance that it won't come back, but it's really a 5-year marker. So from a professional standpoint, I'm not so concerned about where I am professionally. I'm more concerned about where I am personally, whether I'm going to be alive in 5 years, to see my daughter graduate high school, to, see if my other daughter ends up getting a boyfriend and getting married or having kids. Yeah. Those are the things that I look forward to. As far as being a lawyer and things like that, that's not a first priority right now. Priority for me is to try and stay healthy, try and, remain cancer free, and hope that these first 2 years pass, which is the first hurdle. Mm-hmm. And that if it doesn't come back, then I'm in a safer space to hopefully look towards the outlook of my future. But if it does come back, it's coming back to my lungs or my liver. And so my worry is that it's going to come back. It won't come back to the same place. It'll come back to my liver or it'll come back to my lungs. And so for me, that's more concerning than any 5-year plan with my employment. I want to make sure that if I don't make it to 5 years, that I've left enough for my children and my wife to live off of so that they can sustain their livelihoods.
And so when was it that you were diagnosed with cancer? Because throughout this whole thing, so this, mm-hmm. You just had kind of like a storm hit you. So then you end up getting diagnosed at what point?
I knew something was wrong in October of last year. In November, my doctor wanted me to try some different things to see if the pain would go away. But I knew by January of this year, 2025, that there was something like.
So this is all recent.
Yeah, this is this year.
Really?
This is all this year. And so, it was very unfortunate that I'm dealing with orders of protection and injunctions for harassment and bar complaints.
Yeah.
When I'm also dealing with this sudden news.
And you have state court actions, federal court actions, you have orders of protection, mm-hmm. you have bar complaints. It's like mm-hmm. you're getting hit, and then you get this. At that point, when you were diagnosed, what's the first thing that came to your mind?
How long do I have to live?
And what was the second thing that came to your mind?
This isn't going to get personal. This is like ESPN right now.
What's up?
No, I'm not going to do it. But honestly, the thing was, for me, it was, how are my kids going to, how can my kids live without me being there for them?
So, I mean, in that point in time where they'll say, okay, this is what you have. I mean, there's like all these fears that come in, right? So and the only reason I know this is because I went through my own little scare. It wasn't cancer, but they never figured out what it was. But at that point, it's like, okay, you start looking at your life and you start analyzing, okay, what's really important in my life? And did you have that moment through all the shitstorm that you were going through? It's like, okay, here they're telling you this. Like, what does it look like? Like, what do I do?
My attorney lost his wife to cancer several years ago, so he could relate to everything that I was going through. My attorney, Jeff Sturr, is an amazing human being.
He's a good attorney.
And
He's
a
really
great
good attorney. Yeah.
He asked me to look at what was important. And when I had mediation with Raffi Law Group, with Brandon Raffi in April, he suggested I walk away. And I said, that's fine. Because the day after mediation was when I was starting chemotherapy. And so I asked for a walk away. I asked for an opportunity to be left alone.
You did?
And to move on. Yes. He didn't give it to me. He did not give me the opportunity. He dragged me for several more months until he finally dismissed his claim 3-4 weeks ago.
But did he actually dismiss his claim? So for those who don't know the whole process of an attorney files a lawsuit, client has you file a lawsuit, it has to be verified, you have to make certain allegations, you go through a discovery process, and then you eventually take it to either settlement, some type of arbitration, or then finally mediation or some type of finally getting it before a jury or a bench trial, depending on the type of case. When an attorney asks for a dismissal, and there's been no settlement involved, that means that they are putting up the white flag. Now you can ask for a dismissal with prejudice, which means that they can never bring it back, or you can ask for a dismissal without prejudice, which means that they can bring it back as long as there hasn't been some type of statute of limitations, which means an expiration to your claim. And so you're telling me that in which claim, because you have a couple of them.
In the state claim, he has filed a motion to dismiss without prejudice. But the issues that he has from the charges he originally brought forth is the statute of limitations has ran on those. Their future issues or claims that they say they might make is against my podcast and what I've said. I think they, without getting into the legal parts of it, I think they'd have a huge hurdle to climb to prove that. I absolutely think it's another false allegation if they brought that forward. But we have just filed a response on a 41B response motion requesting that the motion be dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never bring the claims back or any of the other bullshit that they brought forth.
And if there's, and I don't know too much about the actual claims, the allegations, but if it has some type of tortious interference issue or some type of like breach of contract or something like that, you can actually get attorney's fees too.
We are going to request under 347 attorney's fees.
Sure. And those are, and 347 is unreasonable positions being taken, correct?
And they've taken very unreasonable positions.
And when does that, so then that portion is going to end up hopefully being done.
We will find out by mid-December.
Okay. And so all he had to do is walk away. He didn't walk away. And then at that point in time, what was your next move? Like, what was your next thought?
My next thought was...
You started chemo the next day.
Yeah, my next thought was, let me see how this chemo goes. And that was, for me, the worst experience, like, for that period of time, right? Like, I thought maybe COVID was bad for me. And it was. And it brought on COVID for me back in 2020 and 2021 when I got COVID. I learned a lot about my health. I learned a lot about my high blood pressure. I ended up finding out I had an aortic aneurysm in my heart.
Oh, wow.
That I live with and that I had to start monitoring at that time. There was a lot of health issues around that time when that bar complaint came down, right? Back in December of 2021. And kind of moving forward with the chemotherapy, that was way worse than anything I could imagine. I mean, it was, I didn't do the full 6 months, and I'm glad that I didn't have to, but I did about 4 months. And, when you talk about the things that chemo can do to your body, it was the worst experience. And even now, like I have neuropathy in my fingers, my feet, I feel like I'm standing on ice. Like there's ice bags in my feet right now. They're freezing. I never had cold feet. Cold feet. I've never had cold feet, but now my feet are always cold. All right. And so is
that a permanent?
Well, it feels residual? Like it is, because this is now the last 2 months, and I ended chemo. So it would come when I would get chemo on day of infusion. The next 2 weeks, it would be this gradual neuropathy and this, the side effects, and then it goes away, and then you take a week off, and then you go back for 2 weeks, and then you take a week off. So after I finished on the 15th, all the pain, all the neuropathy went away. And then I would say about 7 weeks ago, it started coming back worse than ever. And so my oncologist is like, it could be permanent from the chemotherapy. So what was I thinking during that time? I was obviously trying to live and survive with the chemotherapy, because I mean, it's around the clock, like stomach pains, going to the bathroom, your weight loss is up and down. You could lose 12 pounds in 2 days. Wow. I mean, it was a lot. Certain foods you couldn't eat. You couldn't drink anything cold. You drink something cold, it felt like razor blades cutting your throat on the way down. So I had a lot of personal things that I didn't want to talk about on the podcast. But was dealing with personally. So maybe the podcast was me with my cape on, being a tough guy and trying to tell everybody like how much I'm going to give it back.
Was that your therapy, you think?
It kind of was.
Yeah.
But I would go home and feel miserable and feel like shit. I mean, that's the honest truth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of a persona, right? Like you put in, like most attorneys, being a female attorney, sometimes you just have to like, regardless of how you're feeling, you have to like show that no one's going to mess with you. It doesn't matter who they are, right? So you just have to like put that whole facade up and then get to your car. Like this has happened to me. You get to your car and you cry because they just disrespected you and you just didn't know how to deal with it. But kind of the same thing where you're just like forging forth, like not letting them see like your weak spot so that you can like live to fight another day.
This podcast will be the first time they see a weak spot. I don't show a weak spot on my podcast. Your podcast will be the first time maybe they see more of the human side of me. Because I feel like, again, I don't never let them see weakness. Let them see you sweat.
I don't think anything that you've said today would be classified as weak.
But I don't get teary eyed or I really don't get into the weeds, I guess, if you will, about my family and what we talk about at home every day. Obviously, I do say things sometimes like, this is what you're doing to my family. This is what you're putting my family through.
Sure.
And you're fine with it. So if you're fine with it, then I'm fine with destroying you for being the fraud that you are. And I'm talking about Brandon Raffi.
No, I know who you're talking about. So I know that in one of your podcasts, you had said that you wanted to have an opportunity to say something, that you wanted to have an opportunity to talk about something, and that you had told your, I guess, bestie, oh Jesus, that you.
That's not my bestie. That's most of the time my rival. We beat each other up practically daily.
That you were going to be here, and then you would be able to talk about what you wanted to talk about. Is there something in particular you want to say? Because I know that I was not with you. I was actually at the same location. We were separate because I didn't know who you were, like what you looked like, when we went to the gala. But then you wanted to talk about that because I think you feel a little shifted or slighted is the word from the gala.
Well, I don't know if that's the right word. I do feel like for anyone that thinks that I orchestrated this.
I did.
I know. So for anyone that thinks that I orchestrated Bill Kalhofer to call the police on me and me end up getting released and let go and not facing a misdemeanor 1 count, that would be very foretelling of me to know that those ducks were going to be in a row for that to happen in favor of me.
So we should explain that. So while we were at the Los Abogados annual gala, I was a guest of Lori Valdez from Stand Up MRI. You arrived separately through another table. While we were there, you had Bill Kalhofer from Raffi Law Group call police on you because of a violation of some type of order of protection that was
injunction for harassment. Not
injunction.
Order of
Okay.
protection.
Injunction for
Unless we had a sexual relationship, it's an injunction for harassment.
You're right.
So me and Bill didn't happen. Never happened. We traveled together. He says we're acquaintances now, even though we were buddies. But we never slept together, Bill, right?
So injunction for harassment. Thank you. Sorry, I've never been in that situation, thankfully, right? Either sleeping or non-sleeping with someone. So thank you for educating me on the right terminology. So he goes ahead and calls, and you end up getting arrested. You were released, I think, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes later. Is there anything that you want to talk about regarding that issue that you feel like you haven't had a chance to say?
It's very undermining, very underhanded of Bill Kelhofer to have done that at that type of event, an event that I've been a part of since 2002 when I first started law school, when I was with Chicanos, the Chicano Latino Hispanic bar, if you will, the organization at the law school. Which was very closely tied to Los Abogados. My father-in-law has been tied to Los Abogados since 1980 when he was in law school. I always looked up to my father-in-law. He's a past president of the board. He would have me as an employee go out and help him raise money. He would have me go pick up the comedians at the airport, take them to their hotel rooms for the comedy shows that we did to raise money for the Los Abogados bar. He was fully invested in that, and he still is to this day. And I'm very disappointed that Bill Kelhofer chose that event, an event that's near and dear to me and my father-in-law, and not the event necessarily, but their mission of giving back to students that are in law school. I was a recipient of some of those funds, of getting a scholarship from Los Abogados. And so for being arrested at that event in front of what could have been 1,000 people. We know there was 1,000 people there. Were there 1,000 people there at that time? Probably not. Probably much less. But regardless, in the days since, I've been able to learn who was there in the sense of people reaching out to me. Are you doing okay? What happened? A lot of people don't know that I was arrested and then released.
Oh, did you say you were arrested?
They saw me arrested and then they left. From what I was told by a few people, after the police came and kind of interrupted the party, people dispersed. They went home. Nobody wants to be at a party where the police are at. You ever been to a backyard party and the police show up?
I'm out.
Everybody scatters. Everybody bounces. They're not going to stick around. And so the public humiliation, the embarrassment that it caused, I might be stoic and be like, oh, I got arrested, no big deal. That fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I dropped an F-bomb.
That's okay. It's warranted.
But, to have my hand in front of my father-in-law, first and foremost, the guy that I've admired second to my own father for practically my whole life, since I was a little boy. I've known him my entire life. To be arrested in front of him was embarrassing and humiliating. But to be arrested in front of you, who we just kind of mended fences. But
I was actually walking back to like our table.
I was with you.
At that point, someone was like turned around. I was like, "Oh, your friend got arrested." I'm like, "I don't who." That guy. He's not my friend. And then I realized,
wow. See,
no,
how quick they turn on you.
No, but then no. I didn't hear the arrested part. But then he goes, he got arrested. I went outside to check on you.
Okay.
But then when he said, I was like, oh, I realized. Why? Because I admitted that
I didn't know that.
I did.
I didn't know that.
I was
too busy in the SUV with hands.
I was next
tied behind my back.
I was next to Rachel Frazier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw her for sure.
Yeah.
That woman's a train. When she's moving, like, get out of the way.
Yeah, she went further. I went out because I didn't understand what happened because you hadn't done anything. But anyway, but that was how I found out. So besides the whole thing, people didn't know you got released after you got arrested.
Right.
And your father-in-law was next to you because I know that he went out with you because when you came back, I was still there when you came back, which is the only reason I knew you were released, was you came back in. Mm-hmm. And there was the crowd that applauded for you at that point, right? Because
that was awesome.
It was like kind of like little bit of a movie moment where I was like, whoa. But since then, there hasn't been much talk. I also, by the way, I will admit, I did think that maybe you orchestrated it, and you quickly shut me down when I said that because you sent me the police report, and which showed that you did not. Which
shows Bill saying himself in the police report that I never spoke to him or communicated with him. So if he's telling a different story out there, the police report that where he spoke to the police are going to tell a different story and the real story. In that moment, he told the police, I had no communication with Gil.
And I'll be the first to admit that I did doubt you. I said that, and then I did receive a copy of the report, which showed what your statement. So I will admit that I was wrong. How hard was it for you to walk back in after being arrested?
I felt like it was the only way to vindicate myself. So it wasn't hard to walk back in. The reason I walked back in was I wanted as many people that were observing me arrested to see me walk back in that I'm not a criminal, that I didn't do anything wrong. So that wasn't hard for me.
Was the embarrassment when the cuffs came on?
Yes. Being walked out and then knowing that people had left. So people didn't know what happened. So for the people that were still there, that's what I told my father-in-law. He goes, you want to go back in there? I said, yes. They need to know I didn't go to jail. Like I'm back. Like a brazier hook. But back to the Los Abogados real quick. It's very important that I know that Brandon Raffi has since not reached out to the board. He has asked his marketing director, DJ Mad Rich, who's the real marketing director at Raffi Law Group, can you reach out and smooth things over? And that tells you the kind of coward that Brandon Raffi and Bill Kelhofer are, that they can't even reach back out to the board. And the board has an obligation. Let's stop, and I'm going to say allegedly, because that's where defamation comes in, but let's stop cultural appropriation. And let's start with the board, the Los Abogados board, stopping with allowing a guy like Brandon Raffi, who wants to be known as a Latino in our community. Let's stop culturally appropriating him and allowing him to be thought of that way, because he's aligned himself with the Bomberos, the Valley Bomberos, firefighters group in Phoenix, and the Los Abogados organization, the Hispanic attorneys.
So you see Sophia, she's twitching right now because she's like, this is so here's the deal with the Los Abogados.
Wear it on my chest.
Always. I know you feel very strongly about this, and I respect your views. At the same time, I don't know the views of Los Abogados, and we have to understand that the only people who lost, that would lose if they were not able to take funds from, say, Raffi, or if they weren't able to take funds for someone who represented Joe Arpaio, or would be the students, right, who get these rewards. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but I disagree, because if the Los Abogados reached out to me, I could write them a check, or I could find somebody to write them a check. They don't need Raffi's money. So it stops and ends there. It starts and ends there, I should say. Like, you don't need to think, well, how we're displaced if we don't get that $20,000 check from Brandon Raffi. I can go out and raise you $20,000 in a day. If that's the issue, then call me and let's fix the issue and get that guy out of here.
Okay. So, but you do see the point on the, let's say, and I don't know, this is their six. I'm not part of Los Abogados. I was there as a guest. But do you see that point of view where if we were to, because attorneys represent all types of different people, if we were to turn away every person who represented, let's say, a child rapist, a murderer, Joe Arpaio, or some type of party that we're not affiliated with, that we don't want to be affiliated with, do you see how that would hurt the organization by taking that type of stance?
I think the organization is very political to begin with. So I don't know, they already kind of take a stance on a lot of things.
Okay.
So I feel like now you're trying to become neutral in advocacy of something that you believe in advocating for the community. You believe in advocating for people that don't have the same opportunities. What happened at that gala was somebody with more resources and more power put money towards that organization to be there, to speak there. And then while they were there, they decided they were going to have somebody arrested because they didn't like them, because they didn't want them there. So they took the power out of their own hands and gave it to someone else. They sold out.
Well, I mean, I understand your point of view, and I agree that, I mean, based on what I've seen, that allegedly someone who is weaponizing an injunction against harassment, I mean, that's not okay. But as far as with the organization, where the organization is looking to raise money for scholarships, and you were a recipient of that scholarship, I mean, you can't say that they have to, completely X someone completely out just for the fact that, at the arrest. It has to be more.
Oh, no, it has more than a personal thing. It's way more than that. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The board knows about the inappropriate lawsuit, the inappropriate touching of an employee at their Christmas party, which for the next 2 years, they didn't have a Christmas party because there was a federal investigation. Well, not a criminal investigation, but a civil investigation into that instance, where clients that speak Spanish are filing lawsuits because the Raffi Law Group does not have documentation that translates to their language. So they're signing documents, not even knowing.
How do you know? So allegedly, because I don't know if that's true.
It's not allegedly. It's in a complaint. It's in a lawsuit.
Oh.
It's full on litigation right now. Can't walk it back.
Oh, boy.
I would never say anything that's not true or that I don't know. I know this to be factual. When I met with Tish Ulibarri back in June when she was trying to settle mine and Brandon's disputes.
I don't even know who that is.
She's office manager / CFO / whatever else they want to call her there.
Oh, of that organization.
Of Raffi Law Group.
Okay.
She confirmed and admitted to me in person and to my wife that, yes, we don't have any Spanish speaking documents. And go ahead and make them up now, Brandon. If you ever want to, that's fine. And if you want to say you've always had them, I'll just look at the metadata, my guy. I'll just look at the metadata. So don't start, like every time I give them an out, like not even an out, every time I kind of tip them onto something, they're like, oh, we better go change all these documents to Spanish.
You should be either a consultant. You should ask for a consultant.
You should, yeah. And I'd be a better compliance director than Andy Hallaby, the Goomba that they brought in from Greenberg Triog. I'd be a way better director than him.
So, for the record, we take
you brought the most controversial person.
We take no personal.
Take my glasses off. Superman's about to come out.
We take no personal opinions.
Superman's
we don't stances on this subject. That is, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about your stance, especially when it comes to Los Abogados, especially when it comes to what happened last Saturday when we were there.
No, I appreciate that.
Have you seen the interview between Kelly Knowles and Cardi B?
No.
Okay. So there's some things so Kelly Knowles is very reserved. She is very put together. And then you have Cardi B, who is completely unhinged. I love her, but she's just unhinged. And she asks her questions and she says some things that are out of left.
Do not call me Cardi B.
You're like Cardi B right now.
Can't stand that woman.
Why?
She's unhinged. I'm well documented with everything that I say, though.
No, I understand. And trust me, I get it. And like I said, when I called you out and questioned, I mean, I don't even think I said it very straightforward. I just said, by any chance, did you have anything to do with that? You immediately sent me the police report. So I know you stand on facts.
Always.
I do.
I stand on business 100%.
Okay. So.
And that's what a lot of lawyers don't do. I'm very comfortable in my own skin now where I don't have to pretend and curry favor to the bar or Bill Kelhoff or Brandon Raffi or anybody else out there. Another Goomba out there. I don't have to curry favor to any of these guys.
So on that one, I do know I like he's never done anything to me. He's never done anything to me.
It's a dumpster fire. Jesus. Showing my mugshot to people that don't know me.
Is that why you don't like him? Because he showed your mugshot?
And he sued me.
He sued you?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He sued Jerome Gibson when Tori and Joe Coughlin left that firm. They came over to my firm at Jerome Gibson and we had made X amount of dollars. And I didn't believe I had an obligation to because I had a contract with them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were continuing to pay him for like a year. And I was like, why do I have to pay this guy? I don't have a contract with him. And to be quite honest with you, the case did settle, whatever. It's all good and whatever. But in hindsight, if I knew more about workers' compensation then that I do now, he never had a leg to stand on.
I know. I don't. He's never done anything to me. I think he's a nice person, and
Good
so
for you.
there you go. So I take no stance on.
Terrible. Good for you. You will learn. You will learn the ways of the Force.
Okay. Well, tell me this, because we're going to talk about, because the whole main reason I wanted you to come on.
We haven't got there yet?
Well, I want you to wrap it up, but here's the deal.
Wrap it up. Wrap it up.
There's two parts. There's, a rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you, right? But before that, looking back, so Gil today, if you were to know today, if you were to know back then what you know today, what would you have told yourself or done differently regarding your business?
Yeah, again, what I said earlier, I would have brought in people with more experience, who knew more about their positions and how to manage those positions so that they could help me grow. Like I said, I didn't go to school for business. I didn't go to school for business administration. I didn't go to school for a lot of things that when you become a lawyer, you have to wear a bunch of different hats. You've learned that. I wasn't in accounting. I went to law school because I wasn't good at math, but then you have your own business and you got to run your own accounting and you got to run your own, QuickBooks and manage, your accounts, and you got to manage cases. You got to negotiate bills and liens and things like that. So I just feel like looking back, I would have told myself, bring people in, listen to what people are telling you, that you're not always right, that the people you think you have, that you think are right, and you probably know deep down they're not the right fit. Listen to other people that have been there. I'll be honest with you. The first time I hired an office manager was because Brandon Raffi told me, if you want to level up, you have to start delegating some of your responsibilities that you have, or you'll never be able to level up as a boss, as an owner of a law firm. And so with that information from him, I took that to heart and hired an office manager. And I wish I would have known more, again, about, how to manage a firm and a practice, especially as it was growing in volume. That's the biggest thing for me.
And then what about personally? What have you done? What would you have done differently?
Personally, I don't think I would do anything different.
You would have held your tongue. You would have watched your P's and Q's.
Well, when?
I'm just asking in general. No, you would do everything the same.
Personally, my personal life isn't what really, well, maybe some of it, but me and my personal life isn't really what got me to this point with the bar. What got me to that point with the bar was absolutely not having the right infrastructure in place.
You don't think ego had anything to do with what got you there?
I think every lawyer has ego. Every lawyer has a big ego.
Different. I mean, it gets to the point though, but sometimes ego so maybe everyone does have an ego, but there's different ranges. You don't think your ego got in the way at all?
I think the ego, if it ever got in the way, it got into the way of my personal development. I think when you really start making a lot of money, especially when you don't come from much money, and there is a term called new money, and it's very true. I agree. You go out and you start spending on things that you're like, what are you doing? You look back and you say that. Yeah. At the moment, you're like, I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that. I'm going to buy this. It's great. Yeah. Yeah. Like you want to keep up with the Joneses. For sure. And so the ego in that respect, from a personal standpoint, affected me. I think the ego, though, in a lot of respects, prompted me or forced me to start doing marketing. I never wanted to see my face on the side of a billboard, or excuse me, I never wanted to see my face on the side of a bus, or on a billboard. That was not my goal. But obviously, as your ego grows and people are telling you can do it, yeah, if Brad can do it, Kevin can do it. If this guy Phillips can do it, you can do it. Yeah, like, yeah. So maybe the ego part enabled that Gil to let his firm grow as fast as it could, and without oversight and without the proper infrastructure. To that extent, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. You ready for a rapid fire, and then we'll wrap it up?
You can ask me whatever you want. I want that answer.
All right.
Somewhere there's a bear trap here.
No, you keep thinking that. That was like your first thing. Like, oh, you're gonna trap me. I'm very like straightforward. So you would know by now. I've told you everything. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
You can tell my age.
Yeah. Where's my readers?
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Text or call?
Text.
Book or podcast?
Neither.
Introvert or extrovert?
Extrovert.
What's something few people know about you?
I'm left-handed.
Oh, so is my daughter. What's one word people use to describe you that you think is wrong?
Dickhead.
What's your favorite childhood snack?
Favorite childhood snack? Jello.
Regular, what kind of Jello?
The red, whatever.
The red one? Okay.
With whipped cream.
Oh, see, I used to love the hospital Jello. Now they don't make them anymore.
I also love cantaloupe. Those are my two things that I love.
Okay. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Next question.
Okay. What do you hope your kids remember most about you?
That I love them more than they could ever know.
What's one lesson you hope to pass down to the next generation?
Stand up for yourself.
What's your biggest fear?
Death.
What's your proudest moment?
To be determined.
And last question. What does success look like 10 years from now for you?
My children doing well.
Okay. Wow. Look, we made it.
Hmm.
I think maybe like 1 or 2 F-bombs. So
Just 2.
So thank you. Thank you for joining me. It wasn't that bad.
No, it was good.
You can be like my bestie now.
We'll see.
Just kidding. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. Till next time, everyone.
Peace.